Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Living on Blockchain. Today, we are speaking to Pavan. Pavan is the CEO and co-founder at Cultos Global. Cultos Global is an engagement platform driving user engagement via Web3 solutions. He has previously worked with Bosch as well as Suzuki Digital, and he has achieved quite a bit in his professional career so far. He holds several patents. He has been awarded as a thought leader. He's received awards from Bosch as well. He is an IIM alum, and he's also done an MIT boot camp in 21. So yeah, what they are building at Cultos is very, very interesting because it focuses on consumer engagement, on user engagement, vis-a-vis a Web3 solution, like I mentioned before. So this was a very interesting conversation. We talked about user insights, user behavior, Web3 applications at the moment, and how Pavan kind of sees these evolve in the coming decade. I can't wait for you guys to hear this. Let's deep dive right in. Hi, Pavan. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to me today. How are you doing?
Thank the Rishas. We're doing great, and look forward to this session with you.
Yeah, likewise. I'm also looking forward to this session. For our listeners, can you give us a little background about yourself and what inspired you to become an entrepreneur in the tech space, and how did you sort of move into Web3?
Sure, Tarusha. So, again, nice connecting with you, and also for this session. Thanks for inviting me. I started my career, just to talk about it, way back in 2007 as an engineer. Just to give a background to talk about what made me get into entrepreneurship, I need to give a bit about talk about myself and my education and my background in terms of how do I grew up. Fundamentally, I started off as a typical Bangalore kid who did his education here, and a computer science engineer. And like any Bangalore engineer, I started with IT. Started off my career working on car multimedia. That's in an automotive domain. I started off in a company called Bosch, Germany, India, both. And then somewhere I felt, apart from tech, I would want to create something. That curiosity was always there in terms of what do I look at, and that's where I did a 1 year program from Indian Staffment Management Bangalore, and this was on general management, and I started working on strategy topics in Bosch. And this is where I got introduced to new areas, which was at that stage was beginning to be incubated. And I had this opportunity to work with a very vast, diverse team of stakeholders, where we incubated different kinds of businesses, from your healthcare to energy to food. And that operational experience and working with some of the leaders uh, gave me that push, like, okay, I can do something beyond what I was doing. And that's when I realized that I should start getting deeper into the topics. And that's typically that instigated me or triggered me to start focusing on tech as an enabler for business. Till that time, I was probably looking at one dimension of these topics. And I started working on a topic of AI personalization then, which again we count, which was an entrepreneur venture within Bosch. Did a program in digital business. It's an online program from Columbia and MIT Sloan. Went to US, had a good stint there, got the exposure to how things work. Came back. Again, after I came back, I started working with Bosch India CTO, and current MD. And post that, I moved to Suzuki Digital, where I started working on digital platforms. I was heading the technology for Suzuki Digital. It was a new company set up by Suzuki Global. And during this time is when, Tarusha, I started getting exposure to the funding space as well. So we were trying to create a social impact fund, and that ecosystem is something that where I got involved along with Cultos. I think we'll talk about Cultos also, where I started advising the Cultos, which the product was built in US, and that was my first trust with external world outside of the corporate, because most of the innovations till that time I was doing was within a corporate. And during this entire journey from schooling till the day I come towards Suzuki Digital, there has been an incremental learning and an understanding and self-evolution, what I call it, as in terms of what I want to do and whom I am doing for it for. So that also changes. So that's the aspect that bring in. And then I was part of this founding team of Sobus Venture Studio, where we started looking at rural India, tier 2, tier 3, and that gives you the goal or to purpose, like what are you doing it for, the creation of wealth. And when Cultos happened as an advisory, and things fell in place, and that guided me internally also to say, okay, let me take the step forward and jump into the full bandwagon. And then Cultos happened, we raised funds, and we are here today. Yeah.
Okay, it's been quite a journey for you, and it's been an entire arc, right? You've studied, you went abroad, you worked for MNCs. How did that particular experience, like working in Bosch and Suzuki, really shape your approach to what you guys are doing at Cultos as well as the venture studio?
No, it's a very important question, Tarusha. Thanks you asked that.
Mm.
See, each had a learning, right? When I was in a Bosch or a Suzuki, or when we were trying to create the venture studio, it still runs. My other ex colleagues runs that. See, the in corporate, again, it's not like startup world is different from corporate. You learn. There is the ecosystem is there, but the ability to look at facilities, the ecosystem, in a more relaxed way is what you get in a corporate. Um, the you can again, it's I call it self-discipline. You can be highly accountable. You can run at the same pace like a startup, but what you learn is scale. Like how do you scale things? Because the P&L, the discipline of processes, when you do it for a period of time, especially with working with some of the top leaders, you gain that experience of understanding the method to make it executable, right? That's the most important thing. So most of the people will have ideas, but how do you execute it? And executing it the right way is something that's more important. And both Bosch and Suzuki, in that way, are two different organizations, but again, the process part becomes very important there. And everything from your learning, from the way you identify a problem statement, everything has to go through a approach, and you need to validate it. And that aspect of being grounded comes in when you start off with a corporate, rather than jumping off from college to a directly into your startup. You have that mix of aggression, and that balance is always there. And that's the bigger learning. Once I moved out of Suzuki, the transition was also supported by, again, thanks to mentors. You need mentors, you need good set of mentors. You don't need too many advisors. You need to identify the right people. And that also helps because of your strength, past experience, and the network.
Right.
And this what happens, Tarusha, typically most of the, if you look at most of the startups today, or how their work is, right? When you have an experience as a baggage, where you have learned things, right? You know, probably like what are the things you should not do. And it's more important to know your learnings, or what I call it as what mistakes, or again, you can call it mistakes, learnings, what you have done in the past, and how to not repeat it. And that comes up with a vast industry experience.
Yeah, I think I completely concur with you that there is a good amount of balance that is required perhaps to really build your vision to fruition. Like, that there are folks, as you mentioned, who get into entrepreneurship right out of college, and everything is new to them, and they make their own set of mistakes. Obviously, I think a very different set of mistakes will be made by folks who've been in the corporate space or dealt with innovative products, and then they are setting out to build their vision perhaps. But experience does come as like a force that would help you perhaps to build your vision. So can you tell me a little about Cultos as a platform and what it does? What is the vision behind it?
See, Cultos as a platform, Tarusha, is a Web3 loyalty tech. And what we are here trying to do is enable brands and consumer engagement. And we enable an ecosystem here, I would put it that way. And we have your traditional loyalty typically where you get, again, to just put it in a layman's language, you go to a specific shop, you get points, or you go to different apps where they give you so many thousands of points or even lakhs of points these days. But there has to be a value associated with it, right? And Cultos is trying to solve this problem of like, how do you give this value of brand association for a consumer by giving a liquidity value to it, because we also have a crypto part of it. And what we are trying to do here is look at how, if you and consumer can engage with the brands outside of their platform also, and that's one part of it. And we are going to come up with a launch something called as Cultovers pretty soon, where brands and consumers can interact on the platform. And this is again, this is a B2B where we'll be working with the brands for this. And this is where Cultos will help interoperability as well, along with liquidation possibility. So fundamentally, you have different traditional models where loyalty, there is expiry date attached to it. You don't know as a consumer the value of the points, what you have got over a period of years sometimes, especially with airlines and different segments. Cultos is trying to, in its way, solve this problem or attempt to solve this problem by giving transparency to this, because this is built on a blockchain. And there is a transparency with respect to real-time values that will be given or points that will be assigned. And second, your brand associations, what we call as nano influencers these days, right? So that is something that's going to happen, because uh, we will be able to give consumers for their brand association, be it in terms of reviews, likes, shares on third-party platforms. So in just that's what Cultos does, and we are headquartered out of Dubai and Bangalore, and we have raised our initial set of funds. And we are, as we speak, we are in our ongoing round, which is a bridge round before we launch our platform, and then eventually go for a public listing in a crypto exchange.
All right. Okay. So this is interesting. So what you're building is basically, so would it be fair to say it's something like a payback, which was in the Web2 world for Web3? Because you are also letting brands create their own tokens. Obviously, with payback, those were just the payback coins that you used to get with every purchase. But can that analogy be drawn?
Answer is yes. But what we do a bit more is we are going to create an ecosystem of brands and consumers. The back end of any brand token would be Cultos, which has a liquidity value or a dollar value associated with, because we'll be listing in the ICO.
Okay. So the token that the projects are creating on your platform, that's like in a closed loop, like on the platform itself.
Uh, yes. So we will be specifically working with brands for this. So each brand would have a different approach, probably. But at the end of the day, it will be white label with the brands.
Okay. All right.
But the ecosystem that we are going to create, that is for different brands to use. It's like a marketplace.
Okay. Okay. So can you walk me through the process, like end to end?
See how typically how it works is, if there is a brand which has a traditional point system, takes any mom and shop store, or which wants to go digital. See, at the end of the day, again, something that I would like to add is, once we have once we listed in the exchange, we are officially will have a dollar value associated with it, and technically will be a fintech. So fundamentally, uh, visualize ourselves as a Google Pay, where instead of dealing in rupees, you probably deal in tokens. That's how it is going to be. So anyone and everyone who would like to digitize their current systems and want to engage with their consumers by incentivizing them, right, on the digital platforms for their digital behavior or even for transactions, they be it their website or be it with their app. Cultos will be backend integrated as part of, it's a simple API at the end of the day. And we will have our wallet. And if you do a transaction with the specific brand, or and also engage with the brand after the transaction, sharing your experience on different social media platforms, which where we are integrated and as per our um, uh, arrangement with the brands, you will be incentivized with tokens. And each of these, there will be probably tier systems with brands from our past experience, what we have seen. And each brand, based on the number of tokens or points, what you would have accumulated, would probably give it to so much of Cultos tokens if you are directly going to exchange it from the exchange where we have listed, or it can be interoperable with different brands on our platforms or the partners of the brands. So fundamentally, these two things can happen. And Cultos, once listed, will be interoperable with both fiat coin and Bitcoin as well. So typically, it's a simple journey where, um, like your the current loyalty points, how you are going to use it. The For an end consumer, not much will change from a usage point of view, but he will get a benefit of incentivization.
Okay, all right, understood. Can you tell me a little about the kind of challenges you face while building a platform like this? Because again, there are several, like obviously you have the validation, right? It's a product and an idea that does work. There are parallels in Web 2 as well as Web 3. So this question is two-faceted actually. One is what were the challenges, and two, what is your USP?
See, again, I'll come to the challenges again. Challenges first, and then go to the USP. See, typically, if you try to build Me Too kind of topics, right, it's difficult to scale. So you definitely need to identify uh, what is the business problem we are trying to solve. Yes, we have something called as a Web3 technology. We have a generative AI part that will come in future for us. But is there a business problem to be solved? Yes, the current traditional loyalty system is broken. And that's something that we understand, we have validated, we have done our product market fit with our pilots in the US with some of the brands. We are discussing with different players as well. What we have identified is the value of loyalty of for the consumer, what he feels, and the way the brand is able to engage with consumers with a traditional loyalty, which is has become transactional. And that's there is a challenge or a need to for it to be addressed. So that comes the need. And when it comes to the current players in the market, we have done again extensive studies, because Cultos has been there for quite some time and we have built a product, we have raised funds. Um, what we see is in the market, there are different types of players. One who in specific segments like gaming, where it's predominantly crypto driven, where people more focusing on the crypto part of it than the tech part of it. What we are trying to do is use the tech to solve the business problem, which is give the transparency to both the brands and the consumers in the way they engage, which is typically difficult to do with standard Web2 technologies, especially with real time. Second, the value associated with respect to Cultos is not static, right? It's dynamic. So there is always an incentivization and an motivation for a consumer to engage with the brand. And brands are able to tailor make specific and better campaigns to the consumers because of this. And this is something that gives us the edge, what we are seeing. And also with respect to data privacy, since we are built on Web3 and the distributed ledger, there is an privacy with respect to the first party data that the brands access, and nowhere Cultos owns the data. It's consumers' data, and which is owned by brands if as per the GDPR guidelines, based on the acceptance what is happening. And this is one part of the story. A second, with Cultovers, what we are trying to do is create an ecosystem or a platform where any interaction with a brand for an end consumer is incentivized. And that's probably a game changer that once Cultos launches this platform for the brands, we'll be able to see that. And in all these cases, we'll take an incremental approach of product market fit, because I've seen it, right? I've seen it in the past when you just launch a software or put your bets on the technology, it doesn't work. And I'm a firm believer in that technology is just an enabler, and are you solving the real business problem? And that's something that we are trying to do, especially in verticals like retail, real estate, and to an extent mobility as well.
That's awesome. So, what parts of the platform are currently live? Can you tell us a little about that? And then can you perhaps also tell us a little about, the one great lesson that you guys have learned while building this, which can be derived from the challenges itself?
Oh, sure, Tarusha. So, see, with respect to the wallet itself, and implement what you call for a specific brand, where the tokens can be issued, this part is already live with different pilots that we had seen. And now, what we are going to do is launch this Cultoverse as a platform and also list it in the exchange. That will close loop it. That's when the big launch will happen with the live brands. That's what. Now we are in the probably in the testing phase of this. Um, and the biggest that's the for the first part of the question. Second part of the lessons part, I feel with respect to entrepreneurship in general and with Cultos, what I have done here from my past is not hurry, right? You don't need to execute 100 customers. We are selective with respect to both investor community as well the kind of people whom we are talking to, because we have a vision of scale and sustainability. I always say, right, the first phase of a startup is about making it secure. That means you need to survive. First, you need to survive. I call it the 3S: survive, and then you need to sustain it, and sustain it with solving the right business problems methodically, and then scale. Again, this is from the again each startup will have a different persona, each startup founders will have a different persona. So in our case, with my co-founding team of Sunil Nair, who has had 3 decades of experience in retail in Middle East, Adip Samara, who has been part of Karim before, and when Karim Uber acquisition happened, he was there. He has been part of many successful startup exits, and Sangeeta Das, who has been one of the early employees of Infosys. She's at PwC London. She has a experience of that, and she has scaled businesses. So with a very strong team of both young and experienced people, I think that's one of the learnings I have felt that is important, which probably I missed it in some of my previous startups, where you need people who know to do. See, for example, when it comes to doing business, right, people who knows business development, you need people who are experts there, you from a tech point of view. So you need to identify the right set of people and take it at the right time. You don't need to hurry. Nobody is asking you to hurry. You need to do it right. That's the most important part. And this is the most important learning I have had, where learnings in terms of taking it at the right time. Timing is extremely important, not hurrying it, and getting the right set of stakeholders from your team to investors to customers has to be right upfront. And you need to experiment, but you need to experiment with caution. That's one of the points that I would look at. Yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah, that's good advice. I think those are good suggestions overall. Can you tell us a little about the traction that you have seen so far on the platform?
See, it's Middle East. There is a lot of traction because crypto is also a legal tender there technically with respect to retail and real estate. In India, especially with our partnership with Tata Elxsi, where we are looking at mobility as a segment and also different segments, we are seeing the initial traction. Southeast Asia is another market that we are targeting now. We start with these three markets and then take it further. Uh, we will be onboarding a lot of different brands as part of our B2B marketplace onto this platform across these segments, predominantly retail and real estate to focus with to start, and some amount of mobility. And then that's where we are going to take it forward. And today, most of the brands would want to associate with their consumers in a better way. And at a board level, the kind of analytics they are getting is a bit skewed. And that's also we understand from the experience. Yes, we in general talk about data, AI, generative AI, but the kind of data you get and the kind of engagement you do also defines the kind of recommendations that you can give both to the board level and also to the consumers through the campaigns. And that's where we are targeting. Yeah.
Okay, so that is wonderful that you are first trying to conquer these certain geographic niches and then move forward. I think that is a sensible thing to do. Can you tell me a little about the tech stack itself? Which chain are you building on? And do you have any plans to perhaps expand and move on from that particular chain to others?
Not really, because see, I'll put it this way, right? Web3 is my base. So we are built on Ethereum Polygon chain. But what I'm going to build on top of it is a analytics layer, which will be helping the brands. See, in one of my previous stint in the corporate, I had worked on a AI topic where we were trying to give personalization, right? The challenge there was, who gives me the data? Nobody's going to give me the data for free. No brands will give me the data because it's their data. Here, what happens is because of the wallet that we have, that data transactions goes through this, and we are incentivizing the consumers because of this. The data is with us, so we will be able to churn the behavior out of this data and analytics, behavior analytics out of this data, and give recommendations to the brands to drive specific campaigns. And this evolution of Cultos would happen in this space. With respect to the Web3, it would again, we'll do a crypto listing. That's something that will happen. Probably we will not go beyond the chain. We don't see a need for it with both respect to cost economics and with respect to what we already have. We have already built it. But closing the loop would be more in terms of the way we look on top of this, what we are going to build. The platform is going to evolve, where the brands, influencers, consumers will be there on our platform. And that will be used by the different brands who are my consumers, who are my customers, technically.
Right. So these tokens that, your token as well as the tokens that you are creating for these brands, the platform is creating, these are ERC20 in nature, they're EVM compatible?
Yeah, so this will be listed in the exchange, and this is compatible. Again, as I told you, this is interoperable with once we list it with both Bitcoin and fiat coin, all this. Yeah.
Okay. All right, awesome. So, can you tell us a little more about this partnership that you have with Tata? Because you've mentioned it very briefly. I understand that, there is a plan to integrate NFTs with cloud data platforms. Is that correct? Can you tell me a little about it? Can you talk about the significance of this partnership?
Yeah. See, NFTs is an probably I would leave it to the brands or your mobility players or retail players discretion. They might want it, they might not want it, because there has been a cycle with the maturity curve with NFTs. Also, there was a boom at some stage, and today again it comes back and goes. So that is one part of it. Especially with respect to Tata Elxsi, again, the business problem is what we try to attack first, right? So we are trying to see how we can create a digital passport. See, for example, there's a Tether platform of Tata Elxsi, which gives you the driving behavior and a driver score, how it can be created. And at the end of the day, all this can sit as part of a single token where Cultos will be able to get the digital behavior. And net, we have something called as a digital passport or for Tarusha or anyone, Pavan, which can be used anywhere, be it your service stations, can be go as this thing as usage-based insurance in the ecosystem, within the brand ecosystems of a mobility player or where you can access some of these data points, tokenize this, and then incentivize. So fundamentally, you're covering the entire gamut, be it with respect to safe driving, also can be looked at, and services, the entire ecosystem
Right.
overall.
Okay. That's brilliant. That is a very good use case as well, I think. So how far along are you with this, with the execution of this?
See, we are again, as we told, right? So we are now trying to create the ecosystem around this,
Right.
because the most important part of Web3 tokens, we are the business problem, whatever we are solving, is the interoperability part
Mm.
also. Where if you once you issue a token, there has to be someone who is to accept it also, and that's the ecosystem that we are trying to build it before we launch it to the market. And this is also a big part of it. So fundamentally, when we build the platform, the tech partners will be part of that, and different brands can use it. So there has been pivots, right? So that's the beauty of not launching it too early or not executing it too fast. So because of our depths of experience with the team, we were able to do a proper product market fit before we go for this kind of a launch. Otherwise, the way we would have structured is a bit different, which I have done that mistake in the past with some of my previous ventures also. And that's where we have taken all those learnings. I can personally see the learnings that is happening in Cultos compared to my previous ventures or some of the startup which I've seen when I was evaluating them as part of the VC. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So, can you tell us a little about you've mentioned how Cultus is incorporating Web3 and utilizing Web3, but are you also using AI in the platform or the user flow itself?
Answer is yes. See, for as I told you, my Web3 part is built. What we are trying to create is a platform, and on top of this platform is where interactions with the brands and the consumers will happen. And that's where I'll have a lot of data, and that's where AI will be involved. In fact, we'll be going as deep as looking at dynamic rewards, which will be generative AI probably as a possibility in future. Again, these are all part of the roadmap that will be launching once our main platform is launched, and which brands can make use of.
Okay, brilliant. So, can you tell me a little about how you? So now I want to zoom out a little bit, okay, from the platform itself, and now talking about the space in general. I want to understand your personal perspective about these emerging trends. Like there are AI tokens now in Web3. There are several other trends that have come up. What are the most exciting ones that you feel would have a huge influence on consumer apps and brand consumer engagement?
See, having seen this space for quite some time now, I think I've been seeing this space from 2015, especially the retail and the mobility space. See, what I have realized, both in the US market, the Middle East, India, and Southeast Asia, Europe is a bit more mature market from an adoption perspective. It all depends on the markets. The way Middle East adopts a technology, the way Southeast Asia adopts a technology, is different from the way India adopts a technology. If you ask me about India as a market, I would say from a tokenization perspective, yes. But again, because of the regulatory reasons, crypto will take some time. But even with respect to AI tokens, in Indian market, it will take some time because of the value associated with token also becomes more important. With respect to the tech itself, overall, yes, generative AI has taken a big leap. But again, it comes down to the fundamentals of what business problem are you solving. And if for that business problem, if AI and AI tokens enables it, fantastic. it's happening in Middle East with respect to Web3 and AI. In India, generative AI has taken a big step, but with Web3, it's still in the initial stages for me, because the closed looping is important. Whatever tokens comes about, how the interoperability layer plays around is the most critical point. And this is where, if you look at most of the startups, Web3 startups are based outside of India also. If you look at the trend, at least the successful one. And that also makes, because of the ecosystem that the Dubai and the Abu Dhabi government gives also. That's one of the reasons. In India, tokenization is picking up. We have gift cities where we have even a what you call there the facilities are coming about. It will take some time, but overall I would still come back to the business problem you are solving. And more than the business problem, even if you are solving a business problem, you cannot say I have a great software, this will sell on its own. The ecosystem is important. Like you take an EV, right? Just building a EV bike doesn't make any difference. You need to have the entire ecosystem around it, and that's the most important part.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, there has to be an entire ecosystem. There has to be, the timing has to be right. The market has to be right. The consumer needs to be potentially ready for something like that to take off. So I completely concur with you there. Can you tell me a little about the various advisory roles that you do, Don, and what kind of, if somebody who's listening in wishes to perhaps get some mentorship or help from you, how can they do that?
Yeah, sure. See, fundamentally, again, so I'm part of something called as, again, it's a venture builder called Peton, which is started by Jürgen Hayes. He's a very seasoned, again, corporate leader turned entrepreneur. He's based out of Germany. I'm on their advisory board. There we have different kinds of startup. Again, most of them are around commercial startups in different spaces, Web3, AI. There again, it's a European ecosystem which we are trying to expand it to Middle East as well. Not yet in India. That's one where I'm part of. The kind of startups that we look at are very deep tech there, more in, again, as I told you, blockchain, Web3, and AI. With respect to Sobus ecosystem, which I have been very much passionate and been part of. In fact, some of the case studies of Sobus ecosystem was also I had talked about in my TEDx talk recently. Here, it's more to do with grounded ideas, women entrepreneurs. There are fantastic women entrepreneurs in rural India, and I'm more social impact driven. So if someone is looking at what you call uh, an impact which can help with respect to tier 2, tier 3, and employment generation, definitely they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Again, I'm very focused on social impact part with respect to mentorship, not with respect to commercial part, that I keep only Cultos as a commercial topic. Rest of that doesn't excite me anymore. I don't know for some
Right.
reason. But I see a lot of things happening in India, especially in tier 2, tier 3. They are more passionate. They've seen the probably the difficult part of life, and they are more focused. I have seen even an bike that is built out of tier 2, and which was even exhibited, and I think probably by now fund raised in Dubai, because I know they raised a small amount of fund. But overall, what I see as an ecosystem in India is I believe, compared to I again divide India into two parts: the cities, the metros, and the non-metros. The metros part, I believe there is a hurry. I think the visualization of scale and sustainability is a bit missing. Not in all, but at least in some of them I have seen. And targeting the right investment partners is important. See, VC is one aspect of it. See, at right stage, you need right set of investors. You need the right angels in the beginning. You need the right probably a smaller VCs in the next stage. We have told no to so many big VCs already, because we believe it's not that we do not want money, but we believe we are not at that stage where we need a big VC as part of our ecosystem. So you need to identify who is the right partner for you. You need to identify who is the right advisor for you also, and that happens over a period of time with experience, with the chemistry between you and the mentor. See, at the end of the startup needs two things. One is customers and one is investors. if someone is telling I want advice, I know they are lying. At the end of the day, a startup needs money to run and customers to sustain that. So if someone is getting you this, I think they are or enabling to get this, then they are the right set of people. Yes, product market fit, all these things, I believe the founding team should have done that.
Right.
And one of the things that I would say is start early. Start early means not just immediately out of college. See, there are, again, as I told you, there are different scenarios in which startups get started. There
Right.
are people who start up in college itself. That is, again, these are not 98% of the cases, right? So I would still say have some experience around what you're trying to build, understand the domain, understand business problem that you are trying to solve, and then jump into it. And when you're jumping into it, also there has to be a method. It cannot be madness, right? There has to be a method to the madness, and that's something that's very important. Starting up for the sake of starting up is not advisable. There is definitely, again, you have to be very obsessed with the problem and passionate about what you are trying to solve. And till the time, it's like meditation, right? So you get to a certain stage of stillness after a period of time. It doesn't come on the first day. So you will learn that, you will experience it, and then you will probably realize that that's the right way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good advice through and through for entrepreneurs who are starting off, even guys who are perhaps a little more seasoned in their journey. Now, can you, going back to Cultos, can you tell us a little about the perhaps next big milestone for Cultos Global and how do you plan to achieve them?
See, with Cultos Global, what we are trying to, again, as I told you, we'll be launching our flagship platform for the brands. That's something that we'll be doing. We are in the midst of closing our round now, which will enable us to scale this platform. And then probably we will do the bigger round after this. That's probably Q1 next year. During this time, we will also, post the closure of this round, we'll be launching our token in international market, ICO, in an exchange where the Cultos token will have a value associated with it. And that's something that we are going to do. And overall, the vision of Cultos is to democratize loyalty today. And
Hmm.
at some stage on our platform, have mom and pop shops or most of the people who cannot afford to have a proprietary loyalty. And that's something we are going to do. So we'll have technology partners, we'll have network partners in our platform. We will have these brands which can make use of the Cultos technology and the Cultos ecosystem to enable their engagement with the consumers. And that's our vision. It's not just the big brands that we want to enable. We want to enable the mass scale. And if you ask me personally, again, I come from a very much focused, transformed guy who has been working on a lot of social impact and this thing. So for me, it's about generating employment, and I believe entrepreneurs enable that. And entrepreneur, I feel I love to interact with entrepreneurs because they have taken that step to create more employment. And that's for me the main incentive, or the what drives me on a daily basis is, can I generate that one additional employment? And if it can happen in tier 2, that's fantastic. But I can't again, that's tier 2 is also improving with respect to specialized skill set. But again, that would be the thing that we are looking at, both from a Cultos and my personal perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little about the team? You've mentioned the major players in your team. So right now, how big is your team? Are you guys all working remotely? Are you working out of a particular city?
We are a fully remote team. We have people working out of Canada, US, Dubai. I have my two co-founders, as I told you. Bangalore, myself, Sangeeta are based out of here. And we have a total of around uh, 15 people, both some of them full time and some of them advisory. We have again, we have our fintech expert, or our chief of finance work out of Bangalore also. Again, he's an IIMB alumni, and we have two IIMB alumni here, myself and Janardhan, who helps us with our fintech. We have our chartered accountant team, again, who's a senior chartered accountant who is supporting us both in terms of support and investment. So that's something that we have. So we have a pretty expanded version of the team. We have PhDs who have worked on cybersecurity and Web3 for quite a long number of years who will be working with us. We have one of our advisor, Dr. Abhijit Lele, who works on tokenomics, who is based out of IISc. So we have a pretty balanced team of executors, experts in specific areas, and business guys. It's a very well-rounded team. We are scaling as we speak. We are hiring more in terms of building this platform, as I told you, both business and technology aspects. Yeah, that's where we are. So, and most of these people have done it in the past, be it with respect to startup world or scaled businesses.
Right. So they've been there, done that. They bring the right kind of experience. No reason why, your platform would not gain more heights. So because, you've been around and for a while and you do help out startups as well. Like if somebody is perhaps looking for some good resources in the SaaS space in just scaling your startup, can you point them towards any kind of resources, books, thought leaders who you think can add to their journey?
See, for me, again, I believe if you read about the biography of Steve Jobs, that's a fantastic book to understand how things work. And I've always been, I think that it starts there, right? Building a product is the benchmark. You go to any MBA school, people still talk about Apple the way it was done. But for me, in personally, I believe be updated with the current affairs. Not one book will change it. Uh, you should look at your personality. See each one, right? See, I have a different personality. My co-founder Adip Samara has a different personality. The way you gel along and the way you can work together is the most important part. And for me today, the strategy aspects of it, or with respect to the entrepreneurship of it, if it can be learned easily, 0 to 1 Peter Thiel, it's you have to read it. Like
Right.
if you are starting to be an entrepreneur, you have to read it. But rest of the books you can take it from different people. Uh, you can learn from different uh, actually YouTube videos sometimes. I think it's even here on audio podcasts or these things. But personally, one of the books which have inspired me is Apprentices of a Himalayan Master by Sri M.
Right.
Um, Again, as an entrepreneur, I believe you need to have that quotient of emotion attached to it. The emotional quotient becomes more important these days because you are handling a team of by varied experiences. You are handling investors, you are handling different challenges. So you need to be in a right frame of mind. And for you to develop that emotional quotient, again, personally, if you ask me, I have gone more spiritual in the last 3 4 years,
Right.
uh, pre and post entrepreneurship. And it helps you because you are more compassionate. You're not reacting.
Yeah.
You look at it in a balanced way. And yeah, apart from the traditional books, I think entrepreneurs needs to be more humble, I believe so, and be open to listening. I think you should, if not for a podcast, I think probably you should speak less if you're an entrepreneur, and listen more. And respect the kind of the people who have built businesses, right? We learn from history. If you look at most of the way after liberalization India grew was based on some of the service companies which churned out profits after profits. So it's not, see, there is if you want to be a unicorn, you can be a unicorn, but is that your aim is something that you need to look at. Do you want to create scalable, sustainable businesses which generates employment? I think that should be the aim for entrepreneurs. And that's the kind of personality people should look at. And India would be uh, grateful, or it would be really great if such kind of entrepreneurs come out, apart from just the unicorn entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting thought process, and it gives us something to think about. So, we're running almost out of time. I would love to close this off by asking you one last question. That is something that I ask everybody who comes on the show. You had an entire arc with your career with Cultos, and before that, preceding that, you worked in the corporate, you had a stint in the US as well. But, you saw some use case with Web3, with decentralized technologies, and you made that leap and now you're building in it. What would be perhaps your advice to fellow builders, fellow users, for them to truly start living on blockchain?
See, blockchain as a technology offers certain advantages. Now, understand the advantages. Don't get overawed by the like generative AI or a blockchain kind of. Each technology has its advantages. Please, before getting into the technology, look at a problem that you are solving. If that problem requires blockchain to be used, then it makes sense to be used. Don't come with technology first unless you're building on the infrastructure layers or advancements in the blockchain itself layer. Uh, if it is coming from a business problem and the features of the blockchains enables it, fantastic, go ahead and use it. Like and Cultos, yes, we have a Web3 layer. We have used blockchain. We will be probably making some updates on top of it. But yeah, going further, it will be Web3 plus AI because we'll be building on AI. So we are not force fitting and forcefully adding features on the blockchain layer of ours. So that's the most important. But you should have 100% clarity in terms of what you are going to do.
Right.
You just cannot force fit, and that's where most of the things fail, right? Technology never is going to work alone. You need a business problem, and that business problem needs to, there has to be a need first, because you just cannot say, I built a great technology, take it. Nobody will take it.
Right. Yeah, I think it cannot be retrofitted and it cannot be just for the sake of it. Like that is
Yeah.
right. Because nowadays, like whatever is the new trend, people tend to jump and start building in that space. But that is perhaps not a sustainable way to build a business.
See, as I told you, right? See, again, just since we are short of time, you cannot say I have an API, take it. This is one of the
Hmm.
best APIs in the world. I have these value propositions. You need to understand whether there is an ecosystem there. There is, if just giving a token will not make a sense. Someone has to accept it. Issuance of tokens is the easiest part. There
Yeah.
are thousands of crypto companies. There are thousands of Web3 companies. What business problem are you going to solve? Makes these things, and technology is like that enabler or the foundation that solves that business problem, and that's exactly what traditional loyalty problem, what we are trying to solve with blockchain as a base. And blockchain alone is not solving the problem. There is an ecosystem, there is an AI layer, there is a wallet that is enabling it. So there are a lot of things around it. So I think typically we get newspaper headlines makes very much sense, nice, right? Web3 enabling this, but it's a lot of things around it also that actually solving the problem.
Right. No, I think that's very good advice. I feel that, like I've said, a lot of people start building just because something is being talked about a lot, and they want to perhaps, just build on that technology for the sake of building on that technology, which is never a good idea. So I think what you said makes a lot of sense. Now, like we've both mentioned that we are short of time. Before we wrap this up, Pavan, any parting thoughts?
Oh, it was nice conversing with you, Tarusha. It was again. It also took me back to the days when I started off. Very nice. It's nostalgia for me. But the most important part is probably which I tell whenever I have an opportunity to talk about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. Um, uh, I believe in the three yes. One is survive, sustain, and scale, and do it methodically for the entrepreneurs out there. And don't get overawed by jargons, technologies. Please see if you can create an ecosystem, and nothing substitutes hard work. It's about sustained discipline, focus on one topic. Don't do too many things at a time. That's again a learning that I have had. Because if you start doing too many things, not sometimes, most of the times you fail.
Yeah.
So the focus is extremely important. You have to do one thing at a time, and you have to do it right. That
Yeah.
there is no shortcuts to success.
Absolutely. I think, it's best to perhaps conquer a nation than you know, perhaps branch out. But
Yeah,
if you're starting off and you're doing too many things at the same time, obviously because of the lack of focus, you wouldn't be able to give any of it your best, and then hoping that it will become a success is a pipe dream.
yeah, that's true. Again, I probably I'm a misnomer because I don't have most of the tick marks of a jazzy next gen entrepreneur. But again, I believe in the conservative approach of uh, doing it right.
Yeah, no, that is okay. I think we need at times a little bit of a conservative approach is a good thing, I think,
Yeah.
especially in this day and age. Thank you so much, Pavan, for making the time to speak to me today. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I'm sure that there are multiple insights that our listeners will glean off from this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Tarusha. Thank you. Thanks a lot.